I want to explain a yesod that I think is very important and is confusing a lot of people. Chinuch means to train somebody to do the right thing. Somebody's 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, you tell them what the right thing is. If you're not mechanech them, you don't train them, you don't educate them, you don't show them, you don't teach them, how are they going to know? So the kid comes home, he puts down his knapsack on the floor, and you say, Chaim, the knapsack goes over there. You teach him. That's chinuch. Part of chinuch is that if you don't do the right thing, there's punishment, there's a consequence, how to do it, how not to do it. These days it's done with love, incentives, fine. That's all part of while I'm teaching somebody to do the right thing. Then we have a teenager who knows what the right thing is, and now they're not doing it. That's out of the gidrei chinuch. That's not chinuch anymore. A teenager, a young adult, an adult who is rebelling is not lacking chinuch. It's not that they weren't educated, and it's not that they don't know right from wrong. They're not going to do it. And then we go now into this new sugya, this new category, and we start doing chinuch, teaching, preaching, consequences, fighting, arguing. That is the wrong tactic to make somebody want to do the right thing. You will never pressure someone and change their rutzin. So as long as you're bringing them up and you're showing them with a smile and a nice way, you're teaching and showing and an occasional punishment, and everything's done according to any chinuch book. That's chinuch. But that's only until they're 10, 11, 12. Afterwards, when they're fighting you and you're arguing, you're pushing, you're controlling, we slip into jihad mode. Jihad parenting. Communism. In my house, you're not going to do that. You better get up. You're embarrassing. Blah, 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 screaming, fighting, arguing. That is not chinuch. That's panic. You're scared. But you already lost them. They have the knowledge and the information. They don't want to do it. And you don't know what to do. So you pressure, push, pressure, beg, force, pressure, push. That has nothing to do with chinuch. What is going to work? Separate category. So I'm just saying this short clip to understand the difference between teaching somebody, hey, you don't know what to do, let me show you what to do. Hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. You finished your supper? Please put away your plate. Chinuch. But once they know what to do and they say, not doing it, that's a whole different ballgame. Rebellious or unhealthy behavior, many times coming from pain. You have to figure out what's bothering the person. They're not missing chesaron. They don't have a chesaron havana or yediyah. They don't need that information, and they don't need pressure to create. You don't realize, parents, at that point when the child is driving with the emergency brake on, when they're not doing what they used to do, what they already knew, what you already taught them, at that point you have to heal them. You have to motivate them. You have to figure out what the problem is, what's bothering you. Don't turn on them. All of a sudden these kids are like, what, you don't know me? You don't realize something's wrong? For 15 years I'm behaving one way, and all of a sudden I turn around and all you have to do is look down at me and argue with me? You don't realize something's bothering me? What kind of parents are you? So you have to realize it's a different sugya. Don't confuse chinuch with communism. So many times parents make that mistake. The kid says, I'm not going to dress tznius. You, in my house, you better. Communism. It's not going to work. You're not going to get them to want to be back on track. You're going to take a problem that could be a year or two, and you're going to make it a 10, 20-year problem because you are doing things that are not part of chinuch, and they're not part of kiruv. You need to understand that once the child knows and they don't want it for whatever reason, stuffing it down their throat creates a rebellion that's much worse, creates major problems that you don't even want to dream that you could end up being. So many parents do that. They waste that opportunity when the child is not functioning properly. They're not waking up. They're not happy. They're not into it. They catch them with maybe a phone on Shabbos or a phone watching a movie or in the bathroom too long. And they greet that problem with power and control and anger. And they create much more problems. These parents never imagined that a year later they could have a kid who's a drug addict or homeless or stealing or doing crazy things. And it comes from the lachatz that the parents put on because parents are scared. They need to be trained. It's not normal what's happening out there. We didn't grow up with this. We don't know how to deal with it. It's not part of chinuch. And once a child who was mechunach doesn't want to behave, you now have to do something totally different. You're doing kiruv on your own child. Calm, smiley. Kiruv could take 10 years because you can't be mekarev until the person wants it. And right now they're in a bad mood. They're going through a hard time. They need you more than ever. And I know from parents who have done this from day one, they never stopped believing in their kid. And a lot of the kids spiraled. But instead of all the way down to cocaine, God forbid, heroin, chas v'shalom, homelessness, craziness, insanity, violence, same kids stopped going to school, stopped going to yeshiva, couldn't get up. And instead of being greeted with harshness, because at that point you're just panicking, that's not chinuch. Yeah, how can you not get it? None of that. Sweetness, kindness. So they still get worse because something's bothering them. But much earlier, they show the parents where their boo-boo is. And they open up and they feel I can trust you. It's the trust. Because if you don't build trust, and you don't hold the trust, you don't rebuild it after it's shattered by abuse and trauma and different things that shatter trust. If you don't do that, and the kid can't trust mommy and daddy, it's a big problem. It's tremendous pain. They feel verloren. They feel lost, zerbrochen, broken, confused, shattered. And these days with so much emotional problems, Schwachkeit and weak, it's weak. People are weak. They snap. They look for instant gratification. So they watch more movies and they get more into trouble and they hang out more on the streets and they look for things to numb their brain because they can't take it. They can't take the pain. On top of everything that made them stop being able to function, they now have a problem. My parents. And unfortunately, some of those parents are being driven by bad advice. These people give advice over and over again, and it makes the kid worse. And the parents are stuck because they only know one way. You have to have rules and boundaries and consequences. Otherwise, he's going to be a para adam. I feel so bad for those parents because they lose their kids so many times. So many times it turns out that the kid really was suffering. How do you know? There's no x-ray for this. How do you know when a kid wakes up late or is doing all this behavior that's not proper, whether it's midas reis or it's chayla nefesh? How do you know? Even if you're right, how do you take a guess? How do you take a chance like that? Maybe you're right and you can control the kid, but if not, you break him and you're dealing with psych wards and violence and atzala. And how many of those parents who nebuch to have kids in those terrible stages will tell you how many people they asked for advice and the advice was consistently to be tough instead of understanding. Because if you're understanding, it looks weak. What are you doing? What are you doing? You have to stop him. You can't stop him. You did chinuch for 15 years. You spent $250,000 of chinuch on these kids. They have chinuch. You did a good job. Assuming you did a good job. You did. Something else went wrong. And if you're going to start fighting fire with fire, you're going to have a lot of fire. And that's why the Nesiv Shalom did not give that advice. Reb Gershon Edelstein Shlita does not give that advice. Reb Steinman Zatzal did not give that advice. Reb Elyashiv Zatzal did not give that advice. Reb Pam Zatzal did not give that advice. The Chazon Ish Zatzal did not give that advice. The Baal Shem Tov did not give that advice. So many Svarim, thousands of stories. It was never fight fire with fire. It was always okay. The kid is now not able to function properly. It's an illness. It's a spiritual or emotional illness. We have to heal them. And the first thing is with our love. You have to open up the doors of their being, of their heart, of their nefesh with chachma. It takes a lot of chachma. And the problem is, chachma doesn't work instantly. People want instant. Stop him. What do you do if your girl is going outside, not tznius? Fight her. That doesn't work. If it would work, halavai, if it would work. I wish Petch would work. I wish you could slap your kid and they behave the next day. That would be wonderful. So we understand the difference between chinuch and then it's a different category. When is it a different category? When the child used to do it and knows it and now stops. Now they need encouragement, love, other things to figure out what's wrong, incentives, motivation, idud, encouragement. What's going on? How's it going? Take them out to eat. Have a one-on-one. Start having some fun with them. Boost them. It's always pain. So boost, the opposite of pain is fun. Start having fun together. Get to know your kid, their life, because there's so much going on under the hood. And the parents who are just angry, tough, they don't even know their kids. They don't even know what they're going through. They think that the disappointing looks is going to help the kid. Those looks stopped working decades ago. They used to work very well. Not anymore. We'll talk more about that a different time. The main thing is to look at your situation and say, are we doing chinuch now? Or now we're doing damage control? Now we're doing anxiety. Now we're doing fear. Now we're doing communism. Now we're doing jihad. Jihad parenting. I'm going to blow you up. I'm going to stop giving you money. What do you do if your kid smokes cigarettes? Stop giving him money. What do you do if your kid's smoking weed? Stop giving him money. Break his arms. Break his arms. Kill him. Knock him out. Throw him out. Go through his stuff. All of that is panic parenting. It doesn't work.